At my dad's retirement party, he painfully humiliated me in front of everyone, calling me a failure whilst my sister smirked and my mother laughed. I was completely broken. I almost lost myself. They expected me to react in a certain way, but I didn't. I didn't flinch. I didn't defend myself. I acted like nothing had happened and kept my plans to myself. I smiled, stood up and confidently raised my glass and said one sentence that drained the room of sound, and that changed everything. They thought it was all over when I walked out. But they were wrong. 2 hours later, the silence came back haunting them, and that was when my game of revenge began. Gold balloons floated against the ceiling spelling, "Happy Retirement, Dad." Each letter slightly crooked, like whoever hung them didn't really care if they were straight, as long as they were visible. The hotel banquet hall was packed with people I'd known my whole life. My father's colleagues, distant relatives, church members, neighbors who only showed up when there was free food and a reason to clap. Everyone was dressed like success had a dress code. Men in pressed suits. Women in shimmering dresses. My sister, Lydia, in a cream-colored gown that probably cost more than my rent. My mother beside her, laughing too loudly, already tipsy on white wine and validation. And then there was me. I stood near the back, holding a glass of juice I hadn't touched, feeling like a guest who had wandered into the wrong life. I hadn't wanted to come. When the invitation came, embossed and dramatic, my first instinct was to ignore it. Dad's retirement party. Bold letters. His name underneath, followed by 35 years of service and a list of achievements that read like a resume carved in stone. My name was nowhere on the card. But my mother called. She always did that soft voice thing when she wanted something. "Just come," she said. "It would mean a lot to your father." That was funny, considering how little I had ever meant to him. Still, I came. Because some stupid part of me, some leftover, unwanted piece, still hoped. Still believed that maybe, just maybe, this would be one of those nights where things changed. Where he'd look at me and say, "This is my daughter. She's finding her way." I should have known better. The music lowered. Glasses clinked. People shuffled back to their seats. Someone tapped a spoon against a champagne flute, and the room obeyed. My father stood. He looked good. Too good. Retirement suited him already. Relaxed shoulders, confident smile, the posture of a man who believed he had one life. Applause thundered as he raised his hands, soaking it in. He waited until it died down, then cleared his throat. "Thank you, everyone," he began. 35 years. I never imagined it would go by this fast. Laughter. Nods. Admiration. He told stories about his career, about late nights, sacrifices, promotions. People leaned in. Lydia beamed like she had personally earned every one of his accomplishments. My mother dabbed her eyes, playing the proud wife role perfectly. Then my father's gaze shifted. It landed on me. And I felt it, something tightening in my chest. A warning. The kind your body gives you right before impact. He smiled wider. "And of course," he said, lifting his glass, "I couldn't end tonight without acknowledging my children." Polite applause. "This is Lydia," he said, gesturing proudly. Graduated top of her class. MBA. Corporate strategist. Makes me prouder every day. The clapping was louder now. Lydia dipped her head modestly, smirking just enough for me to see it. Then he turned. "And this," he said, voice dripping with amusement, "is my other daughter." People chuckled softly, sensing a joke coming. I froze. "No college degree," he continued. "No clear career path. No future to speak of." Laughter erupted. Real laughter. The kind that fills a room and leaves no oxygen behind. "Just a life without purpose," he finished, taking a sip of his drink like he'd delivered the punchline of the night. Something inside me cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. It was quiet. Surgical. I looked around. Faces twisted in awkward smiles. Some people avoided my eyes. Others looked directly at me, curiosity lighting their expressions, as if I were an exhibit. My sister laughed. Actually laughed. Hand over mouth, shoulders shaking. My mother laughed too. That hurt more than anything. I waited for my father to stop it. To say something like, "I'm joking, of course." To soften the blow. He didn't. He just stood there, pleased with himself. That was the moment I understood something clearly for the first time. This wasn't an accident. This was planned. My hands were steady when I set my glass down. I didn't cry. I didn't storm out. I didn't shout. I smiled. It surprised even me. I stood slowly, the chair scraping lightly against the floor. The sound cut through the lingering laughter like a blade. Heads turned. I lifted my glass, meeting my father's eyes. For a second, I thought I saw uncertainty flicker across his face. Too late. "Cheers," I said calmly. "This is the last time any of you will ever see me." Silence slammed into the room. No gasps. No murmurs. Just pure, suffocating quiet. I didn't wait for a response. I turned and walked out. No running. No shaking. Each step felt deliberate, like I was crossing a line I could never uncross. Behind me, no one called my name. And that told me everything. I didn't go home. That was the first decision that mattered. I walked until the noise of the hotel disappeared, until the polished laughter and clinking glasses became nothing but a dull memory behind my ribs. The night air felt heavier than it should have, like the city itself was holding its breath with me. I sat in my car for a long time. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. Didn't call anyone. I just sat there, hands on the steering wheel, replaying the moment over and over. Not the words, but the faces. My sister's smirk. My mother's laugh. My father's satisfaction. That smile he wore afterward. Like he'd finally said what he'd been holding back for years. Something hardened inside me. Not anger. Not yet. Clarity. I drove to a cheap motel on the edge of town, the kind with flickering lights and carpets that smelled like old rain. I paid cash. No questions. No record tied to my name beyond a first name scribbled on a clipboard. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, phone face down beside me. I knew it would come. I just didn't know when. Back at the banquet hall, the party had continued. At first, my father laughed louder than usual. He told another story. Accepted another round of congratulations. Lydia posted photos online, captioned, "So proud of my dad," with a heart emoji and a champagne glass. My mother floated from table to table, basking in attention, pretending nothing uncomfortable had happened. But something was off. People stopped laughing as easily. Someone asked, casually at first, "So, where's your other daughter?" My father waved it off. "Oh, she left early. You know how she is." Another guest frowned. She seemed upset. Lydia rolled her eyes. "She's always dramatic." But the words didn't land the way they usually did. A colleague leaned in toward my father. "That was a bit harsh, wasn't it?" My father chuckled, but it came out thinner this time. "Kids these days need tough love." The colleague didn't laugh back. Across the room, my mother noticed something unsettling. People were whispering, glancing, looking at her with expressions that weren't admiration anymore, but discomfort, judgment. She picked up her phone. No messages from me. She texted, "Did you get home safely?" No reply. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. The music felt too loud now. The laughter forced. Plates half-eaten. Another message from her. "Please respond." Still nothing. That was when the first real crack appeared. My father checked his watch. Cleared his throat again. Announced that the party would wrap up soon. No one protested. They left quickly. Too quickly. Chairs scraped. Goodbyes felt rushed. The room emptied faster than it had filled. By the time the staff began clearing plates, the celebration felt like something that had gone wrong, but no one could quite say how. The house was quiet in a way that made sound feel intrusive. My father poured himself a drink. Then another. "This is ridiculous," Lydia said, kicking off her heels. "She always does this, storms out to get attention." "She didn't storm out," my mother said slowly. "She said something." "What?" Lydia asked. My mother swallowed. "She said it was the last time we'd see her." Silence. My father scoffed. Empty words. But he didn't sound convinced. My mother picked up her phone again. Called me this time. Straight to voicemail. She tried again. And again. Nothing. That was when the unease turned into something sharper. "She's probably just sulking," Lydia said, but her voice lacked its earlier confidence. "She'll come around." My father stared at the wall. "No," he said quietly. "She didn't look like she was sulking." They all remembered it then. The calm in my voice. The steadiness of my hands. The absence of tears. That wasn't weakness. That was finality. Meanwhile, in the motel room, my phone finally lit up. Missed calls. Messages. One after another. I watched the screen light up and go dark, over and over, like a heartbeat I no longer belonged to. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my email. And sent the first message. Short. Precise. Addressed to people who had never taken my family seriously, until now. I requested meetings. Attached documents. Used my full name. Then I turned my phone off completely. For the first time in years, I slept without that familiar knot of anxiety in my chest. My father didn't go to work. He couldn't. Retirement suddenly felt less like freedom and more like exposure. My mother sat at the kitchen table, refreshing her messages, staring at the empty space where a reply should have been. Lydia scrolled through social media and froze. Someone had commented under her post. "Isn't this the daughter your dad humiliated last night?" More comments followed. Questions. Screenshots. Judgment. The story was already moving. Without them. And they had no idea yet how far it was about to go. The first call came at 8:12 a.m. My phone buzzed on the motel nightstand, lighting up the room like a warning flare. I didn't answer. I already knew who it was. My father. He never called me directly. Not unless something was wrong. By 8:30, the voicemail notifications stacked up. Then the texts. Short at first. Controlled. "Call me. We need to talk." By 9 o'clock, the tone changed. "This isn't funny. You made your point." I smiled for the first time since the party. They still thought this was a tantrum. They still thought I was reacting. They hadn't realized yet that I'd been planning my exit for years. Quietly, patiently, long before my father handed me the final reason in front of a room full of witnesses. My mother sat rigid on the couch, phone clenched in both hands like a lifeline. "She won't answer," she whispered, as if saying it louder might make it more real. My father paced. Back and forth. Back and forth. "She'll come around," he said. "She always does." But his voice betrayed him. Because this time, something was different. There was no rage from me. No begging. No explanation. Just absence. Lydia burst into the living room, pale, phone shaking in her hand. "Dad," she said, "you need to see this." She turned the screen toward him. An email. Subject line, request for formal review, workplace conduct and public statements. It had been sent to his former company's HR department. And the board. And 2 senior partners who had attended the retirement party. Attached were statements. Witness accounts. Screenshots. A short video clip someone had recorded. My father standing proudly, laughing, introducing me as a failure. Publicly. Deliberately. This has to be a mistake, my mother said. Lydia scrolled. There was more. An inquiry sent to a professional association my father still consulted for. Another to a non-profit he sat on as an advisory figure. Another to a local business magazine that had recently praised him as a model family man. Every message was calm, polite, factual. No insults. No accusations. Just truth. This could damage my reputation, my father said slowly. Lydia snapped. Damage it? This could destroy it. That's when it hit them. I hadn't lashed out. I had documented. By noon, my father's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Not friends. Not family. Colleagues. People asking questions they never had before. Was that joke rehearsed? Is that how you speak about your children? We're just trying to understand your values. Every question sounded neutral. Everyone carried a blade. He tried to explain. To laugh it off. But explanations don't work when the evidence speaks more clearly than you ever did. At 12:47 p.m., an email arrived. Subject: Consulting engagement. Status update. His post-retirement consulting role was being paused pending internal review. Paused. A polite word for we don't want you representing us right now. My mother read it twice before sitting down heavily. This is because of her, she said. No, Lydia said quietly. This is because of you. That was the first time Lydia didn't defend him. At 2 p.m., I checked out of the motel. Paid cash again. Then I drove, farther than I ever had without telling anyone where I was going. I stopped at a cafe halfway, ordered coffee, and finally turned my phone back on. Dozens of messages flooded in. From my mother. Please, we can talk. You didn't have to do this. From my father. You're going too far. This can still be fixed. That one made me laugh. Because for the first time, I was the one deciding what could be fixed. I sent one message. One. To a group chat I had quietly created months ago. I won't be returning. Please don't contact me again. I wish you well. Then I blocked every number. The weeks that followed. The story didn't explode. It spread. Slowly. Respectfully. Relentlessly. My father wasn't cancelled. He was reconsidered. Invitations stopped coming. Panels quietly replaced him. His name faded from conversations it used to dominate. My mother lost friends. Not dramatically, but subtly. People became busy. Calls weren't returned. Lydia noticed something else too. People no longer laughed at her jokes about me. They just looked uncomfortable. And sometimes, pitying. 6 months later, I stood in a small apartment with sunlight pouring through the windows. New city. New job. New name on the lease. No one here knew me as the disappointment. They knew me as capable. Calm. Reliable. I'd finished what I never thought I could. On my terms, in my time. One evening, an envelope appeared in my mailbox. No return address. Inside was a single handwritten note. I didn't know silence could be so loud. I thought breaking you would make me feel bigger. It didn't. Dad. I stared at it for a long time. Then I folded it carefully. And placed it in the trash. Because here's the truth they learned too late. I didn't leave to punish them. I left to save myself. And the hardest part for them wasn't losing me. It was realizing I'd finally stopped needing their approval to exist. Moral lessons. Public humiliation is never just a joke, especially when it comes from family. Words spoken for laughter can leave wounds that silence cannot heal, and disrespect repeated long enough eventually becomes a breaking point. This story reminds us that people don't always react with anger when they've had enough. Sometimes they leave quietly, and that absence carries consequences far heavier than any argument. Respect, once lost, is not easily recovered, and those who mistake control for love often realize too late that the person they tried to belittle was simply preparing to walk away.